Hello guys, welcome back to the CO2 Rundown. I'm your host, Chad Owens, and today is a very special segment where we will be remembering and dedicating this one to a Hawaii legend. Let's check it out. Aloha guys, welcome to the CO2 Rundown. And look, I'm just gonna dive right into this thing. We all know the sad news that we found out yesterday about Colt Brennan's passing. And, for me personally, the first thing I did, right when I found this out in the morning, I went out and went for a walk. For many different reasons. I knew that I was hurting. I was praying for his family, his fans, the state. And so I just felt like I needed to go for a walk to sort of gather my thoughts on what is it that I'm going to say? What can I say? And because I know that today this was going to happen. I was going to do a show and we were going to do a dedication, a tribute to Colt Brennan. And so I needed that time. I didn't post anything yesterday. I needed a day to sort of decompress, to gather my thoughts, to be able to say the right things. And, I was thrilled to have took to social media and listened to all the videos, what people were saying, all the posts. And it was all along the same lines of where I'm at, as far as what Colt Brennan meant to this state, what he did for the university, for the state, putting us on the map on a national level. And to dive deeper into this dedication for Colt Brennan, we decided to bring in the sports guru, as I like to call him, Tsai, who has been covering football specifically, but all UA sports, but football for over 3 decades. And we're definitely thankful to have Tsai with us today on this sort of sad segment, Stephen. I know everyone's gutted by this because, like I said, Colt Brennan meant the world to a lot of people here in Hawaii, a lot of these up-and-coming football players.
I think one of his teammates, Am Leonard, said at one point he was the most famous man in Hawaii. I mean, he was certain generations, Don Ho, he was everything. He was he was the most impactful person, and people wanted to meet him. I think the biggest present you can get from him that year was, or from anyone, was to get an autographed Colt Brennan, football or something. Anything related to Colt, anything to sort of touch and sharing that magic that he had. Not just 2007, but 2006 was actually a better year. And I think he set the NCAA record at that time for 58 touchdowns. He was the most efficient passer in the country, in the nation, in history at that point. And it's just an amazing guy who just brought kind of the state together. And a lot of times in our state, we all love each other, but sometimes we love each other in that family way where we kind of pull different directions. And he and the University of Hawaii football team kind of brought everything together. Brought it together. And you touched on one thing, Stephen. Colt's ability to, embrace the position he was in. It could be easy for someone that skyrockets into like this stardom, into this fame, and to get caught up in that and to feel, and to forget. But Colt was someone who embraced the Aloha spirit. That was the common theme around what everyone talked about. That was the common theme and what was going through my mind. And the power and the strength, Steve, that this state has. The Aloha spirit just has an ability to change someone for the better if they let it. And Colt Brennan did that. He embraced it, he embodied it, he inhaled it, and then he lived it. When he went away, wherever he went, he represented Hawaii. He represented the people, and I think that's what everyone loved about him.
signing autographs, taking pictures, community. He did it because he knew that what Coach June Jones and this program gave him was an opportunity. And then the people that embraced him, it just, yeah, it was definitely a super, super sad day yesterday. And yeah, prayers go out to the Brennan, Ohana, and everyone.
Yeah. And you know, we always talk about people that grew up here and became heroes and went elsewhere and grew up here and spread the aloha. We've got people like Marcus Mariota, you know, Tua. But Colt came from California. He went to prep school in Massachusetts, came back here, went to California, comes over here, didn't know anybody. And I think some local guys, Gerald Welch in particular, took him in. Nate Alawa, who wasn't from here but had family here, but he must have been playing here like 11 years or something. He took him in too, and everyone kind of took him in and showed it, and he embraced it. And it wasn't just one of those guys who was just, okay, this is your culture. It became his culture too.
Exactly.
And I mean, he tried to, I mean, you know, what kind of guy who can be on the cover of National Magazine decides, well, I'm going to put the Hawaiian Islands on my head. You know, he just loved those things. He loved everything. He loved the music. He loved the people. He loved the food. And he was just a guy who just really embraced it. And because it was so genuine, I think that's where people embraced him.
Yeah.
And he was a really good quarterback.
I mean, yeah, I mean, amongst all things, right, that is what he did. He was a gunslinger, man, and the best to do it. You talked about he's going to go down to this date as the most, you know, iconic University of Hawaii football player. You're talking about a Heisman Trophy finalist. I mean, just seeing highlights and pictures of his time yesterday, it was almost like a rewind. And yeah, at that time, I was already, you know, in the pros, but I followed and I watched and I saw, and it's like it was amazing what he and that era was able to do. And man, University of Hawaii football was at its highest. The state seemed to be at its happiest. Everything just seemed to have been flowing as it should. And yeah, man, Colt Brennan changed the face of University of Hawaii football. You know, when I think of Colt Brennan, you can't help but think about, yeah, Hawaii football. You can't help but think about swag. You can't help but think about, you know, Jason Rivers, Ryan Gricemonis, Devon Bess, you know, the Dreadheads, that whole era of swag. He changed the position, the quarterback position. Young kids wanted to be Colt Brennan, you know, with the visor on. Like, man, this quarterback's wearing a visor. He's swagged out. Like, the University of Hawaii jerseys was on the map. People were talking about it when I was like, man, the University of Hawaii got some of the tightest jerseys. Like, that whole, you know, era just sort of changed the game, and it was led by Colt Brennan.
You know, that thing too was Hawaii didn't have a lot of money back then. What is now Ching Field used to be called Cook Field. There wasn't even a turf there. There was the thing that's under the turf. It's kind of like the people buy the shower curtain, but I mean, usually the liner is a shower curtain. That's how it was. There was nothing on there. Cats used to use it as a litter box. It was awful, you know, and there was no soap in the shower, not enough soap in the shower, and they didn't have a lot of things. And Colt said it didn't matter the things you don't have. And that was the point of him. He brought out the fact that Hawaii didn't have enough soap in the shower. But that was just sort of a metaphor that we are doing these incredible things without any of these essentials. Imagine if we had the money and the essentials. And he never really got to benefit from all the money and the great things that happened to the university afterwards, the new lockers, everything like that. But without him, you wouldn't have these things. And sometimes it's people who've got to take the sacrifices and everything for the better, and that's kind of what he did. His time may not have benefited him or his teammates, but it benefited future UH players.
Yeah, and that's what you call a legacy, Stephen. He definitely left a legacy, and you talk about sacrifices. And I was brought to tears yesterday when watching his announcement that he was coming back for his senior year. Most said that if he would have left, he could have been a first-round draft pick. But he decided, I know that was a hard decision, but maybe it wasn't a hard decision. Maybe it would have been harder for him to leave, and he wanted to continue to embrace, continue to, be back with his teammates, continue to live in Hawaii, continue to just have this energy, this mana flow through him because maybe he needed it. And for someone to make that decision shows his humbleness, his dedication, his love, his aloha for Hawaii. And that really, that brought tears to my eyes. Because, he could have went after some money, but he wasn't in that space. He wasn't thinking about money, right? He was thinking about the people. He was thinking about the legacy. He was thinking about his teammates and what they were going to be set out to do, and what they did in his senior year.
And he also appreciated the second chance Hawaii gave him. He had been in trouble before he got to Hawaii. June Jones has given people second chances. He gave Tina Samoa a second chance. He's given a lot of people a second chance. He said, I'm going to give you a second chance, Colt, but you got to pay your own way the first. You got to prove to me that you're deserving of it. So the greatest quarterback in UH history was a walk-on to start off. Gee, wonder what that's like, huh, Chad? Being a walk-on, having to prove yourself. And he did it, and he showed it. And I remember after that season, I get this weird call from him, a strange out of the blue call. He says he's at the Fiesta Bowl, and he's just watching the game and everything. He says, you know what? That's got to be the goal. We just can't just go for like smaller bowls and everything. We got to go for the big one. And I don't know if that factored in anything, but he was with such a special group of guys that he really felt such a bond with, and with the coaching staff he felt a bond with, and the state. And I think he wanted to do something for the state, and that might have contributed to him coming back. But again, it was a love affair between Hawaii and Colt Brennan, a very mutual and strong love affair.
Yeah, man. And so many things, right? And you can't help but think, like, man, when you join this fraternity of warrior football, rainbow warrior football, whatever you want to call it, whatever era you're from, the past, right, the present, the future, whatever it is, you're part of this fraternity. It's a brotherhood. And you rise, we rise. You fall, we fall. And, when you lose anybody, not to take anything away from Colt, but Vince Manawai, things like that, you lose a brother, a fallen soldier. It's like, we never went out to, in the front lines of an actual war, but this was our war brothers. We went out to battle each and every week with these guys, and the past, like I said, the present, the future, it's all part of this fraternity. And when you lose someone, man, it hurts. It hurts bad, and you can't help but think, man, like, that could easily be any one of us. And that's hard to swallow. You can't help but feel, again, for his family. And I think there's a lot to take in. Definitely, there's going to be a grievance process for a lot of people, family, fans, Hawaii, and but he deserves it. Colt deserves that legacy. I feel there should be a Colt Brennan sort of day, here in Hawaii, and for what he's done, and what his legacy will leave behind. You've seen what Marcus said about him, what Tua said. All these young quarterbacks, they looked up to him, and I got a message. I got a bunch of messages yesterday. One particular said, man, you, Colt Brennan, it was guys like that really was the reason why I wanted to go to the University of Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So Colt really left a legacy. Like I said, we got legacy is a big word. He's a legend. He's a walking legend. You mentioned him amongst the Don Ho's, the Israel Kamakawiwo'oles. That is Hawaii legends. Colt Brennan should be on the Mount Rushmore of Hawaii, right? And it was definitely a tough day, and again, just praying for his family, comfort, condolences, and all of that.
One of the last things I remember was a couple of years ago. The 2017 was inducted into the Hawaii Circle of Honor. That's like their Hall of Fame. it's not, there's a dinner to support because plaques and everything and raising funds isn't easy for Hawaii. And they just didn't have enough money at the banquet to bring in all 110 players from that team. And so they said they could only bring in a select few. And Colt was one of them. They said, please, come out here, represent that team. And Colt says, if I can't bring everybody, I'm not going to go. And he didn't go because he says, we did it as a team. And that, he was a star. He was the face of the team. He was the face of Hawaii. But he said, we all did together. And if I'm not going to go, if they can't go, I'm not going to go. And that meant, walk-ons. That meant guys at the end of the benches, everything like that. And he stood by it. And so to the end, whatever you think of him and the struggles of the past few years, the thing was he was always a teammate and he was always very loyal to his team and to the University of Hawaii to the end.
Yeah, and I know his teammates appreciate that, and the Hawaii fans will forever appreciate that and forever, remember him. And, Steve, thanks so much for taking the time today to sort of share your thoughts about Colt Brennan. You know what they say, right? Legends live forever, right? Legends never die. And Colt Brennan is definitely a Hawaii legend. He will forever be. And we just wanted to sort of dedicate pretty much this segment, this day, to Colt Brennan and what he meant to so many here in Hawaii.
And I know a lot of people say, okay, you should retire his number. There's so many things we should do for him. Unfortunately, it's not around anymore, but I think there are so many other legends, so many people have created things in Hawaii, and I think don't ignore it, don't forget the people who are currently around, appreciate the people around. It could just be a family member, it could be one of your sports heroes, a singer, anything. The guy down to, who bags at the grocery store, anything like that, but just remember and honor and appreciate life, because I think Colt kind of showed us that you can have a great life, but sometimes life is precious and short, and you should each appreciate every day and each person. Yeah,
and definitely there's so many life lessons to be had here in this situation. Appreciating the moments, appreciating the people, your loved ones, and understanding that it is about a team. It is about everybody. It is about the equipment staff, the trainers, because if they're not doing their job, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to do yours. So it comes full circle. And I think this definitely needs to be pushed and have lit a motivation to maybe create something bigger in the honor of legends, previous legends, and Colt's definitely at the top of that list with the best of them. So again, thanks so much, Stephen, and thank you guys. Colt, brother, we miss you already so much, man. Love you. Rest in paradise, as we like to say, man. And until we meet again, brother. Aloha. Number 15.